I cannot believe the first time I played Dead Rising was 10 years ago. To put it in perspective, at the time I was using a CRT TV and AV cables. This did not fare well. For one, I couldn't read the text from Otis at the bottom of the screen, and the completely different play structure put me off, and then I remember trading it long after. Some months went by before I went back to it. It wasn't until my mate Carl explained to me the fundamentals of the gameplay I decided to give it another shot. See, the problem was my 2007 gamer brain was stuck expecting something with early zombie game sensibilities, something similar to Capcom's other mainstay Biohazard offerings, the likes of the tank controls from classic Resident Evil, or even something Resident Evil 4-ish. Now with the power of hindsight I realise the difference in structure and the non-linear gameplay is nothing short of genius, and a completely different Undead experience. You play as Frank West, an action photojournalist, trying to get the scoop in the small town of Willamette, Colorado. It is on the way to the scene where Frank jumps from his helicopter straight into Joe J. Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Looks like taking the helicopter was the way to go.
So yeah, the story at first glance seems very derivative of zombie movies from the late 70s, especially Dawn of the Dead, with the whole game taking place in a mall. The game does manage to build upon the base narrative with its own spin on the allegory of consumer culture, and an interwoven plot of conspiracy, government cover-up, revenge and societal breakdown. The game presents most of its story as cases that all have a time limit. This presents the player with the added anxiety of having to be in the right place at the right time to carry on the story. This in turn is mixed in with the pressure of having to rescue survivors in the mall. This is why I give up on it the first time round. I didn't realise how much the time management was an integral part of the game, and that the decision making when at a low level will have you choosing who lives and who dies, and a lot of the time coming at the mercy of the plot continuing.
And if he gets away with Dr. Barnaby, none of our questions will be answered.
Then you have to take into account the levelling mechanic itself. Again, all those years ago I naturally assumed killing the zombies was the best way to level up Frank, but what becomes apparent when you're playing Dead Rising is it is a journalism sim first and a zombie game second. Some of the best ways of gaining PP to level up Frank is to use the camera to get various kinds of pictures, as well as photographing noteworthy locations in the mall. This encourages you to explore every inch of Willamette Mall. With all this going on, when you do get down to some undead slaughter, it is even sweeter.
Fantastic. Try a little harder, old-timer.
72-hour mode is the game's main mode, but it doesn't hold your hand from the start, so if you want to go off and start a zombie massacre straight away you can do. The game doesn't disappoint when it comes to action as well, with swords, lawnmowers, axes, chainsaws. There's so many ways to dismember the living dead in this game. I swear after about 10 years I still find new stuff to kill enemies with. Speaking of enemies, during the course of the game you'll come across psychopaths, rogue survivors that have gone batshit and are gunning for you. You can fight the likes of escaped convicts, crazed cult followers and disgruntled retail wreckers. These encounters are some of the best the game has to offer in terms of a challenge, but if it does start to get a bit hard you can always start again when you die, with all your experience, so if you want you can grind Frank up to level 50 to make it a bit easier.
My store! Huh? Not on my watch!
Someone's been hurt. I need medicine.
Hurt! That's just what this bitch said when she came to vandalize my store! I don't take kindly to vandalism. I won't allow it!
A lot of the time you'll find yourself having to escort at least 2 or 3 survivors at one time. This is where the game can throw you a curveball with the difficulty. Although the controls are really tight and responsive, the way they're set up you can find yourself fumbling around for things quite a lot. This can be frustrating when contending with some questionable AI from the survivors. This would be my only criticism of the game, that it seems everyone you're trying to save is more preoccupied with serving themselves up to the zombies when you're trying desperately to save them. Although when you do manage to get them all back it does feel very satisfying. For a game released in 2006, the graphics and presentation are impeccable. The attention to detail in the shopping mall alone is exquisite, with lots of Capcom Easter eggs all across the shops and food courts of the mall. All tied together nicely with excellent sound design. Some of the music is trance-inducingly catchy, and well crafted to make you feel like you're actually visiting a late noughties mall in Middle America. The reason Dead Rising 1 works so well is because it brings all these aspects together in a seamless balance. The sequels to Dead Rising would often end up leaning more on the silliness and the action at the expense of the investigative feel and the mystery of the original game. Dead Rising currently sells for frickin' £1.50 in CEX, and I dare say you could find it even cheaper. I have seen it priced up as £1 in the charity shops and the tat shops. I would however recommend the HD updated version for PC, PS4 and Xbox One, as they address some of the rampant clipping issues the 360 version had. Thanks for watching, and farewell.